What it is, Montana Peace and Grease here, and I am in Fortuna. Now, I have just leveled my standing with Solaris United, and I was going to take a look real quick to see what is required for my next rank. And I thought, you know, if you guys haven't experienced Fortuna yet, maybe you'd like to see what you're going to have to expect moving forward and get a kick out of it. So let's go talk to Yutiko real quickly. Yutiko, a very disrespectful NPC. But we will talk to her nonetheless because we have no option. Alright, Solaris United standing. Let us take a look at what we need. Okay, 70,000 standing. That's pretty typical when it comes to factions in Warframe. No real difference there. Next title. 100,000 credits. Pretty par for the course in regards to factions in Warframe. But I'm going to need 12 shelter debt bonds, 10 medical debt bonds, and 13 advances debt bonds. Wow, that's a lot of debt bonds, and this is only going to go up from there. Wow. Okay, but let's remain positive. I'm sure there's an easy peasy lemon squeezy way to acquire debt bonds, right? I mean, DE wouldn't like implement some sort of a new type of system or resource we have to grind for and then make it impossible to get, right? They wouldn't do that. Let's remain positive. Okay, let's take a look at the bounties real quickly. Yutiko, let's see what the bounties are. Okay, so this is the first one. Let's see how many debt bonds can we get. We can get two debt bonds. You know what though? This is the lowest level bounty. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? Obviously, the higher level bounties give you more debt bonds, right? I mean, of course, it's no-brainer. No-brainer. Common sense. So let's take a look at this one. This one's going to give us still just two. Yeah. Okay, well, DE wouldn't lock something like debt bonds and give us like this tiny, paltry, greedy, miserly sum and not give us another option to acquire them, right? Right. I mean, come on. That would be just horrendous. So there's got to be a way, if we can't acquire debt bonds through bounties, how else can we acquire them? Oh, hey, we'll go talk to Ticker. Ticker will hook us up with debt bonds, right? I should have thought of this before. Debt bonds are a waste of time. Or bounties are complete and utter total waste of time. Freaking time acquiring debt bonds. Bounties are. So let's take a look at Ticker. Ticker will take care of us. All right, Ticker, hook us up. Hook us up, girl. What you got? What? 263,000 credits? What? 5 medical debt bonds, 5 shelter, 5 train. You don't even give me all the debt bonds I need. What? I still need 7 medical or 7 shelter, still need 5 more medical, and this does nothing for my advances, and you're asking for 3,800 circuits and 263,000 credits? No, this is a joke. This is a Blizzard style early April Fool joke, right? That's what this is. This is a joke. This can't be real. Yeah, let's look at the next one. 133,000 credits and 14 anoscopic sensors. Are you serial right now? What? 30,000 credits, 13 smooth phasmin, 41,000 credits, 10,500 alloy plates, 20,000 credits, 5 anoscopic sensors, 119,000 credits, neural sensors and Sagan modules, 5 Axidrol alloys and anoscopic sensors, and 11,000 credits. Excuse me, I'm choking on these these amounts. Reading these, this is redonkulous. This is redonkulous. This. Oh, but you know what? I bet. Okay, that's the way the system works. So you can't get the debt bonds worthwhile in an inadequate amount from the bounties. So you have to deal everything funneling is towards Ticker. So we get the credits from the bounties. That's how it works, right? Right? That's how it works. All right, I don't know why I didn't think of this before. Duh, I'm stupid. So we get the credits from the bounties, and that way we get some of our credits back from buying the debt bonds, since the bounties are a complete and total utter waste of time to acquire debt bonds. That's how it works. Okay, let's see. Credits. All right, let's see. We can get, what, huh? 1,500 to 3,000 credits? Are you me right now? Like, well, okay. This is the low-level bounty. As we go take higher level bounties, we get more credits so that we can then utilize ticker. That's what it is, right? That's what it is. I should have thought of that. I'm being stupid. What's 2,500 credit cash? No credit cash. No credit cash. And 10,000? When you're charging me 263 plus thousand credits, you're going to give me 10. Are you me, DE? You are going to offer me $20 to rake your yard in the form of the bounties, and then charge me $3,000 to rent the rake? What is this nonsense? Are you kidding me? What the hell is... What in the name of Zeus's butthole is going on here? Why can't I acquire the debt bonds through running the frickin' bounties? Are you kidding me? We got the Tess Everest of Warframe here in the form of ticker. What in the... What...
See you around, Julie. Oh, you see Zoo, send him my way. Girls' night.
What it is, Martino. That was a humorous take on a very real problem that exists in Fortuna. Now, we do finally have the first part of Fortuna on console, and with it we have a whole host of activities that we can perform. You can get yourself a metric ton of floops to decorate your orbiter with conservation activities, or maybe you just want to build yourself a custom K drive and Tony Hawk your ass across the open world of Warframe. Maybe you want to build a custom secondary weapon in the form of a kit gun, or just build yourself a pet moa. Maybe you're a simpler Tinno and you just want to fish for new types of fish and that new mechanic, or mine for new types of minerals and that new mechanic. And basically, Fortuna is just getting started. Now, if you come at Warframe as I did, I came in with a list of priorities: to build a pet moa, to build a kit gun, to explore the open world of Warframe. But if you come at Fortuna with that type of mindset, you'd be making the same exact mistake that I did. Now, I'm sure many of you are going to be like, whoa, wait, Peace, wait. Are you actually telling us not to have fun? Sadly, the answer is a resounding yes. Now, understand that if I were to give you any advice about Fortuna, the thing I would tell you, the one single solitary thing I would tell you to do, is the bounties and nothing but the bounties. While the bounties are a complete and utter total waste of time in regards to actually gaining debt bonds, sadly they are the only way to acquire them. The sad truth is, utilizing ticker is a complete and total waste of time when you look at the massive resource and credit sink that it is. So there is really no concrete way to earn debt bonds, not a single one. When you factor in that everything in Fortuna at some point is going to require debt bonds, you quickly get the feeling that you are being pushed, shoved, and kicked towards ticker, aka the Tess Everest of Warframe. Bungie actually tried the same exact thing with D2 in the sense of microtransactions, and forced their players to have to be pushed, kicked, and shoved towards Tess Everest. Sadly, the same exact thing is occurring in Fortuna, and really, debt bonds and ticker, aka the Hema, aka Vobin, are just totally ruining Fortuna overall. Now, what I'm referring to is when you get ready to level up your standing with Solaris United, you are going to be waiting on debt bonds. Nothing but debt bonds. Now, how do I know this? Well, because when I went from Outworlder to Rapscallion, I earned all my standing and was waiting on debt bonds. Going from Rapscallion to Doer, I earned all my standing and was waiting on debt bonds. Going from Doer to Cove, I will earn all of this standing and will be waiting on debt bonds, and the same goes for Old Mate. Every single step of the way is waiting on debt bonds. Now, for over 5 years now, grinding our standing was enough in Warframe. No longer. We now must grind our standing and grind advances debt bonds, but there's no real way to earn them besides paying for them in the resource sink, the HEMA, the Vobin, aka Ticker. So again, if I were to give you any advice, I would say run bounties and nothing but bounties. Now this is primarily because you need to understand that Fortuna is built as a system of locks upon locks upon locks, very similar to the Plains of Eidolon. Now you are well within your right to build a kit gun by all means, but you're going to find out pretty quickly that the gilding feature is locked behind standing. You may require some special resource blueprint that's locked behind standing. You may require a specific echo lure that's locked behind standing. Or maybe you need bait for a special fish to get that one part from that fish that's locked behind standing. Running bounties is going to allow you to acquire that standing, and at some point, whenever RNG and DE wills it, we will acquire the debt bonds to actually level. Now, I would not count on Ticker nor the bounties to actually acquire those debt bonds. Unfortunately, it is RNG based in regards to bounties. Now, when we talk about bounties, the same problem that existed in the Sortie and in the Plains of Eidolon, since it was just a basic straight rip from the Plains of Eidolon and placed into Fortuna, is still a problem. The reward pool is, lackluster to say the least. Unfortunately, while it says that debt bonds are a common drop, this is a load of hooey. I can tell you for a fact I have earned every single reward from every single bounty before I've ever earned 2 debt bonds. Now, in the grand scheme, when you need 10, 12, 15, 20 debt bonds, what's 2 debt bonds going to do for you? Not a damn thing. Sadly, the same goes with the rest of the rewards. For example, 1500, why am I not an index credit cash? The 50, why am I not running any mission besides this bounty to acquire the Indo? Or perhaps you earn the 100, why the hell wouldn't I just run an excavation mission cryotic? Maybe you're going to be lucky like me and earn your 96 Garuda cheese chassis. Yeah, unfortunately, you're going to run bounties for only one thing, standing. Unfortunately, you can't actually run the bounties and earn these debt bonds consistently. So ultimately, you can only run these bounties to earn standing and desperately wait for debt bonds to drop into your lap, which isn't going to happen, FYI. Now, what can DE do to fix this? What do they have to do to fix this? Because debt bonds and Ticker are a cancer on the Fortuna update. It ruins the overall fun of this location. Well, the first thing that's going to happen, no ifs, ands, buts about it, no exceptions, period, the end. The first thing that has to happen is that debt bonds have to be a guaranteed drop from these bounties. Have to be. Not RNG based, but guaranteed. You run this bounty, you're going to get 5 debt bonds. You run this bounty, you're going to get 10. You run this bounty, you're going to get 20. You run this bounty, you're going to get 25. You run this bounty, you're going to get 30 debt bonds. And those have to be guaranteed. We need a viable option to actually farm these debt bonds. As it exists now, there is no consistent way to earn debt bonds. None. Because bounties, that ain't doing it. No. Not happening. So that's the first thing that has to happen. What's the next thing that has to happen? The next thing is the Ticker. Oh, let's talk about Ticker, aka the Tess Everest, aka the HEMA, aka Vobin. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about when I refer to HEMA, or when I refer to Vobin, you need to understand that in DE's history of Warframe, they implemented Vobin for one specific purpose, to soak players for their resources. The community spoke out and said, DE, please don't do this, we don't need a resource sink, and we really hope the DE learned their lesson. Shortly thereafter, they didn't learn their lesson, and they released the HEMA, a device designed to soak players for their resources. Yet again, the community spoke out and said, please, DE, we do not need a resource sink in Warframe, and we really hope they learned their lesson on that one. But yet, here we stand with yet a third resource sink in the form of Ticker. Now, I'm not really surprised by this, because whenever I watch dev streams and I notice the DE devs actually paying attention to the player's account balance, I really started getting concerned, really concerned that DE was going to implement some system in which to soak us for our credits, and that's precisely what has happened. Now, quite simply, asking a player to dump 263,000 plus credits on a handful of debt bonds that doesn't even give them all their debt bonds is flat out offensive and redonkulous. Fortuna being located in Venus means that a lot of newer players are going to have access to it. That's a problem because they can't afford 263,000 credits and 3,800 circuits. Flat out undoable. So what is this going to force them to do? It's going to force them to have to go back to the bounties, which, as we already discussed, is a pointless way to go about trying to gain debt bonds. So where does that leave you? Nowhere. So sadly, when you're looking at Ticker, you basically are going to be forced to go back to those missions you ran thousands of times before in countless hours. You're going to be running Index non-stop like you already have. You're going to run Hydron. You're going to be running ACAD. You're going to be running all these missions you already ran just to acquire enough resources to dump them into Tess Everest here. I'm sorry, I mean the him. I'm sorry, I mean Vobin. Ticker, that's it. That's the one. That's the resource sink I'm referring to. The problem in Fortuna, as I've already stated, is that everything at some point requires debt bonds. There's no concrete method to acquire and or farm for debt bonds. You are therefore forced to run bounties, which is a pointless and stupid way to try and gain debt bonds, or you're going to have to deal with Miss Tess Everest here, which, let's be honest, wanting 11,000 of my alloy plate and 41,000 of my credits to give me just a tiny paltry sum of debt bonds is a joke. And a slap in the face, not to mention. So her cost, Ticker's costs need to drop dramatically. We're talking at least 3/4. Now, listen, if you wanted to say, okay, give me 50,000 credits, and for 50,000 credits, and let's say 1,000 circuits, we're going to give you all the debt bonds you need to rank to the next Solaris United standing. Hey, I could get behind that. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's an option. If you didn't feel like running the bounties. Now, the bounties, first and foremost, need to be improved, as I've already stated, with guaranteed debt bond drops, and the amounts need to be increased. But if you really wanted to leave Ticker in here, fine. These costs are a joke. They are obscene, to say the least. Let me put this into perspective. This is equivalent to DE saying, hey, run the bounties and rake our yard, we'll give you $20 to do so. And you're like, yeah, okay, cool. But then they're charging you $3,000 to rent the rake. No matter what language you're speaking, that is wrong. That is heinous. So that's what has to happen. And you need to understand that everything is funneling us towards Ticker. That's why I call her Tess Everest. Just like in D2, everybody being funneled through Tess Everest. Well, the same thing is happening here. It didn't work well with Destiny 2, DE. It didn't work well for Bungie. Perhaps this is something you don't want to do. But yet, here we are. So, I'm not really surprised that DE decided to go this route. Listen, there's a lot of competition in the science fiction shooter-looter genre of games. You've got... you have Destiny 2, with Forsaken dropped a couple months ago. Put Destiny 2 in the best state it's ever been in. Not great, but it's definitely better. Definitely needs improvement still. You have Anthem right around the corner that's going to be dropping. So there's more competition coming. So DE's trying to devise a tactic in which the content of Fortuna is going to stay relevant longer. And that makes total sense. Listen, the Warframe community as a whole has a voracious appetite for content. They can drop content within an hour. We have devoured it all, licked our plate clean, and we're asking for second and third helpings. So I get why DE wants to keep this content relevant for as long as humanly possible. But there are better ways to go about it, rather than ruining the overall update of Fortuna with Ticker and with debt bonds. Give us a concrete way to actually earn these debt bonds and farm these debt bonds. Don't funnel us towards this Tess Everest of Warframe. That's a bad way to go. Now, some people would watch this vid and think that or some of my other content and say that I'm a DE hater. Well, not to get me furthest from the truth. Listen, I have supported DE for over 4 years now, and I've gotten tons of my friends and family into Warframe. I'm always the first one to congratulate them. I'm always the first one to thank them and compliment them. And, bottom line, I hold DE in very high regard when it comes to what other developers should strive to be like. Particularly in this day and age in society and social media, where most developers are attacking, dehumanizing, and verbally assaulting their customer, DE is embracing their customers, their community. So when it's all said and done, I am not a DE hater, but you guys know me. I'm going to spit the truth. And when I step in bullshit, I have to call it for what it is. And that, in this case, debt bonds, Ticker, is bullshit. All right, with a capital B. Yeah, unacceptable.
Hey there, Stardust. Our stock is hot.
Now, I can sit here and compliment Fortuna very easily. It's very easy to do. I love the environment. I love the NPCs of Fortuna. I think it's really cool. The geography of Orvalis is magnificent to look at. It is. I actually enjoy just wandering around, mining and fishing, looking at all the various different types of geography. I love it. I mean, it is truly magnificent to behold. I love this repo men kind of idea of using body parts to pay debts. It's really kind of cool. And then those being repoed. The whole idea, it was cool in Repo Man, at least I liked it, and I think it's cool here as well.
Get back to work, you muckers.
Ultimately, though, debt bonds and ticker just ruin this experience. It just saps the fun straight out of it, and makes me actually not even really want to play it. All right, because every time I come in here and I'm like, I'm going to run a bounty, the only reason I'm running that bounty is to potentially get a couple of debt bonds, which do nothing for what I actually need, and then be funneled right back to ticker again. But when it's all said and done, I do really enjoy Fortuna. If we could do something about actually giving us a activity that allows us to farm these debt bonds. If you actually make ticker usable, not such a slap in the face as far as the cost to purchase debt bonds. Now, don't even get me started on gilding. You guys know my stance on gilding. That has not changed. But needless to say, the biggest problem when you look at the Plains of Eidolon, for example, is when you force a player into an activity that's enjoyable, and you force them into it over and over and over again, eventually that enjoyment turns to dislike. And if you continue to force them into it, that dislike turns to hatred. And if you continue to force them into it, that hatred turns into flat refusal to do it. You don't need to look any further than the Plains of Eidolon to see this. Case in point, myself and my friends included don't even want anything to do with the Plains of Eidolon. Now understand, it's not because the Plains of Eidolon is bad per se, it's because the Plains of Eidolon, we've been funneled into it so much. In fact, also add to that the lack of depth. Yeah, and it doesn't take long for players just not want to deal with it anymore. Now, unfortunately, the same is going to occur with Fortuna, and even sooner. Because while I've got options in the Plains of Eidolon, that is something I do not have in Fortuna. So you don't have to believe me. By all means, just wait a couple weeks. You'll see the activity in Fortuna plummet. And it's going to happen. Because really, Fortuna turns into this, in regards to debt bonds, turns into this exercise in frustration. No real concrete way to earn or acquire debt bonds aside from ticker. Continually being kicked, pushed, and shoved into ticker, and that resource sink of what she is, yeah, it's a huge turnoff. But suffice it to say, what do you guys think is Fortuna? Are you enjoying it? Are you having into the same exact problem that I am seeing with debt bonds and ticker? What are your ideas to actually fix it and rectify this problem? Again, my best advice to you guys, if you're coming into Fortuna brand new, run those bounties and nothing but those bounties. If you run 20 bounties, maybe you'll acquire 5, 6, 8 debt bonds, maybe, if you're extremely lucky. But more importantly, you'll gain standing. By acquiring standing, you will unlock certain aspects of Fortuna. You won't be struck in the face so much by a stop sign. As in regards to debt bonds, I'm sorry I don't have any option for you. I would tell you ticker, but I cannot condone you using ticker. I would recommend the bounties, but it's a pointless and waste of time to actually acquire debt bonds via bounties. It's just not worth your time. So run bounties, nothing but the bounties, ignore everything else. Honestly, that's what it's going to really come down to. So run bounties until you hate them, run bounties until you flat refuse them, and then, what was it? Started with a B. Bonsai? No. Oh yeah, that's right. Run more bounties. Until next time, bounties and bounties.